Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our podcast today, The Talk Room. And I am very privileged to have a special guest, Michelle Hoffman, and also the co founder. Hello, Michelle, the co founder
Hello.
of this podcast. I will also introduce who is also a very amazing person. His name is Ian Stockbridge and he is the founder of Hope Counselling and Therapy Services, which is now a national service which provides excellent counselling and therapy throughout England and probably is developing other services around the world. So a very warm welcome to Michelle and Ian. And today in today's podcast, the reason for the podcast is we talk about being our best selves. How can we actually be our best selves? And that's what we aim to do today. So over to you, Ian.
Thank you for that glowing introduction, Wendy. That's really very much appreciated. And to repay the favour, Wendy is an equally amazing and highly experienced CBT psychotherapist. Worked in private practice for many years now, but has generally been involved in the field of mental health and well-being for well over 35 years now. So an amazing resource to have on the podcast. And I'm also equally thrilled to have Michelle Hoffman join us for the first time on the podcast as well. For those people who haven't had the pleasure of meeting Michelle previously, she is a master life and relationship coach. She's based in South Carolina in the States, and she helps people get the tools they need to improve relationships so that they get the lives that they most desire. She is a 3-time international best-selling author on love, personal and professional relationships. And her latest book, Ensemble, From Solo to Symphony, has also just become an international bestseller as well. So a huge congratulations for that. Michelle also has had the most amazing corporate career. She helps organizations improve their client and their employee experiences. And if that's not enough to keep her busy, she is also a social scientist at Stanford University as well. So an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, Michelle.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to share our conversations together to see how we can help other people, your listeners today, make a difference in their lives. So exciting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wendy, over to you.
Yes, Michelle. And I think we had a problem talking to you, Michelle, because you have done so much and you've written so many books. And which one to sort of talk about was the sort of like the enriching of experience that we could have gone with you. And if you could just perhaps introduce yourself a little bit more, could you tell us the books that you've written? Because I think it's quite good that the audience knows a little bit more about the actual books that you've written.
Lovely. Here's the truth is we follow a path, and wherever that path leads us, the core of who we are, the characteristics and attributes and qualities that we carry in through our lives, the values that we live and allow our life to be guided by. And then it's really about how we choose to enjoy our one precious life based on our priorities. And you will find that theme follows through in the features and the topics that I certainly represent and write about. All I ever really wanted in my life was to be in a healthy partnership and to build a home and a family and a life together with my one perfect person. And it took a little bit longer than I thought it should to find my right person. What I didn't realize is that I had been developing a process along the way. Well, I did find him. We found one another actually in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on a cruise. And we very quickly realized that this is a valuable relationship that we wanted to grow together. And we did build a home and a life and a family together. And it was perfect until he died. And that left me head of household, sole parent, and you guessed it, single. What happened after that is I used this process that I had developed to rebuild my life after loss, move through grief, and remember, I'm still alive and I've got this incredible life that I get to enjoy living in part based on the relationship I have with myself, my family, my community, my friends, my career, and that I wanted that purpose to still be vibrant. So I followed that process, moved through grief, rebuilt life, and then I did the same thing for my children. And they are thriving again. And then I did it for a friend who had lost her husband. And my community was like, oh my God, can you go help them, help them, help them? And I'm like, oh my God, I need to go, I need to work. And eventually they said, this is your job. In my heart, I felt compelled to write the guide I did not have. So that's A Life Worth Living, a practical and compassionate guide to navigating widowhood and sole parenting. And this is the guide I did not have that helps you move through grief and loss to rebuild life and love in that way. I intentionally went into what my comfort zone was, relying on my business consulting and my professional career in building teams. So I wrote the New Management Blueprint because now I know how to write a book, right? So this book is all about how to spark teams, creating valuable results for businesses. And it's really for leadership in the organization to pull everyone together and ensure that everyone's on the same page so that every movement, every intention is moving us closer toward the professional goals. Now I feel like I've got a show and tell here. To my delight and surprise, I was nominated as a Titan, and I, of course, didn't know what that was initially. But really, Ensemble from Solo to Symphony is a conglomerate of 139 authors, individuals around the world who have faced some sort of challenge and built resilience as a result and taken the next step to help others grow through their own challenges in life to achieve amazing things. It's a brilliant, brilliant book, and all the proceeds go to bringing children off the streets in the world. And the secret topic that we will be talking about today, my publisher has picked up Find Love Now, but it's not yet released to the public. So if you need a copy of any of these resources, theartofrelationshiping.com will give you a chance to access any of them. But with that, let's dive on in because that's my trajectory from loss and moving through grief to rebuilding life to growing organizations and understanding the value that we can bring even though we've had challenges in our life, to build the relationships that we desire and attract in our life to make life meaningful.
Absolutely, Michelle. And thank you so much for just giving an amazing background of where you come from and the brokenness and the trauma that you suffered from the loss of your beloved, somebody who you thought was your lifelong partner, and that, so many people would relate to that and the broken feelings that you must have had and what you went through. I've got the book and I highly recommend it for that book. So thank you so much for sharing that. But Find Love Now, let's just focusing on that. And I think one question that comes up a lot that people ask me is, why do I keep on attracting the wrong people? Are you able to do you cover that subject in your book, Michelle? What are your
Oh,
thoughts on
we
that?
touch on all of it. We do attract the same sort of people. There's so many different reasons. There's a 100,000 different
I
answers.
think we've got a freeze going on at the moment.
Um,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let me know when you can hear
I,
me.
I can hear Michelle as well. So
Okay, so
you
I'll
Fine.
continue. The
Yep.
answer to your question,
Yep.
uh, Wendy, is really how am I attracting the same type of person, even though I have thought I was looking for someone new? And we want that when we're attracting the qualities and attributes of someone that we desire. People come to me to look for the right love in their lives. They stay with me to because they learn they're elevating all of the relationships in their lives. And really the question is that you're asking is about what are the messages that we're sending that's attracting this similar quality. And somebody's going to ask that question if they do not like that quality. Because if they find they're attracting, intelligent, high quality partners, they don't typically ask a question. They just enjoy that ride. But if you're attracting someone with some sort of quality that you see repeated in a relationship, it may be an opportunity to reflect a bit on what message are you sending that this is the quality that you keep discovering in your life over and over again. And if that's not a quality that you'd like to look for, what I would do is sit down and think, what am I doing that is inviting this in again? And I would never ask someone to change 180 degrees and shift who they are. However, it may be of interest to say, what am I doing that makes it okay for someone else to take from me over and over and over again and never feel obligated to give back? I know a lot of people who may ask that question tend to be loving, loving givers. And they may give and give and give and say, I'm not enough. What else can I do? What else can I say? How can I be enough for you and our partnership together to satisfy everything here? And if we've got somebody who's so generous of heart and thought and spirit and time, and they find themselves partnered with someone who initially would feel really good because they would see value in that giver's gift. But then if they just keep taking and the giver, my little giver here, has not given them an opportunity to gift back, so my giver needs to learn how to receive, um, to really allow that give, not rather than a give and take, so it's all in one direction. And then my sweet giver feels taken advantage of or underappreciated. If we can train my giver here to give and then also learn how to receive, then that shifts the partnership in a way. So that would be one easy surface example of how we may be training our partners to take from us, or we may be training them that it's acceptable to behave in a certain way. And they say, okay, I know how to behave in this partnership. When in reality, we need to adjust and say, this isn't comfortable for me. What I'm looking for is for you to step up and share in that give and receive. Does that is that an example of how we keep repeating same relationship challenges and patterns in partnerships? And it's a
Mm.
very simple shift if somebody can point it out to you and it's no longer a blind spot.
Yeah, I'm sure Ian would agree with me. It makes complete sense to me. And it's that light bulb moment. And I think sometimes people say to themselves, why me? Because I give so much in a relationship. I give and give. I'm so nice and I'm so loving. And then why does it happen to me? It's a really good explanation, Michelle, of how that sort of dynamic can sort of work against you. So I think that's a great one for people to listen to. And I want to move on to
Thank
my,
you, Wendy. You've actually sponsored, you prompted an exercise that I offer
okay.
to help people understand when that's happening. That might be perfect right here,
Yep.
because you were saying, why does that keep happening to me? And so I play a game. It's always fun to play a game, right? And is that statement, why does this keep happening to me? Is that statement a victim statement? Are you the oppressor in that statement? Are you a witness, a bystander, or are you your own hero? And if you feel like the why does this pattern keep happening to me type of statement is a victim statement, then I would invite you to figure out how you can transform that into you becoming your own self advocate, to be your own hero. And that would be a way when you find yourself in that challenging moment once again, that you can turn that scenario around.
And I love the use of the words as well, victim, from victim to hero. I think people hear that, and that's a lovely way of sort of expressing that. Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you so much for Michelle. I hope the listeners really enjoy
Mm,
that. I certainly do enjoy that. And I,
awesome.
And I think another thing that a lot of people say to me in therapy is, say if you're a little bit, well, tiny little bit older, not old at all, really, 30, 40 plus, and maybe for some reason their previous relationship broken up or they haven't had a relationship at all. They've had bad experiences on dating apps. So they say to me, I'm too old. There's nobody out there. I don't want dating apps, but how on earth do I find someone? Because I'm sort of past it. Everybody else is in a relationship and married or in partnerships. There's nobody else there for me. How would you deal with somebody who comes with that sort of question?
Well, it feels so isolating, doesn't it? And alone and lonely, and maybe my ship has sailed and I'm too old for that. This falls into the same category of I'm not enough, or I'm not pretty enough, young enough, rich enough, high enough on the social ladder, whatever it is. And we're actually looking for reasons to, in our minds, to make it okay to explain why it's not working for us. But I got to tell you a secret. If you're alive, you are enough. And just merely by being present, someone is looking for exactly you. I wished one of my clients a happy birthday recently, and she sent me a picture and she said, "Thank you. My boyfriend has taken me on an extravaganza vacation, and this is a picture of the two of us celebrating lunch in honor of my 84th birthday." And she adds, "Thank you. I may never have known what true love feels like in life without actually have worked with you." And that warms my heart. And that was actually a while ago. So it is never too late to know what true love feels like. If you didn't have mentors or role models growing up, or even friends, or viewing how relationships truly work, it's not your fault. You just didn't understand the process I was talking about earlier. And really, it's learning the process so that you know how to attract the right partner to you who is right for you. And that's regardless of who or where you are in the world and in your lifetime. There is someone looking for you just like you are looking for someone. So, too old? That's not it. If you're sitting on your couch and just waiting for them to knock on the door and say, "Hello, I've arrived. I've brought dinner, and let's continue to ride off into the sunset together," you you can't really jump into a relationship later into it. You do need to put a little effort in, but once you learn that, it's that makes it that much more fun. But you're
It's
never too old.
It sounds so hopeful as well, the way you describe it, Michelle. It sounds wonderful and exciting, like an adventure rather than a, traumatic chore that sometimes people feel when they're trying to find someone.
Right. Well, that's it. Let's shift it from a traumatic chore. Look at the messages that are being sent out. Oh, I've got to wake up and I've got to do this traumatic chore. Would you like would you like to go out with someone who sees you as a traumatic chore? Or would you like to wake up in the morning and go, today is the day I'm going to have so much fun knowing myself better, having a wonderful experience. I'm going to share my life experience and adventure with someone else who then makes the entire experience even that much better.
Wonderful.
So what
And
messages are you sending?
yeah, exactly. The words are so important, aren't they? The actual language you use. That's a really good point, Michelle. Really good point. And another question that listeners often ask is, how do they know they're ready? Maybe they've just come out of a relationship. Maybe they're still not sure. Maybe they still wondering whether they're still in love with an ex-partner or something like that, or maybe they've gone through a bad experience and hurt and everything like that. How is there a kind of way where people can perhaps think a little bit more about whether they're ready for a relationship?
I actually have a program called Ready to Be Relationship Ready. And it is important to know who you are and know where you're at on your readiness scale. Because when you dive into the dating pool, you want to know that one, you're relationship ready, and that you can identify other people who are also relationship ready. Otherwise, and you alluded to this before, you may find yourself partnered with someone who is going to drag you down with them. Whereas if you know you are not just backfilling a position from your last relationship, and that you are moving through grief of a heartbreak or on the heels of heartbreak, or for whatever grief and loss, from my experience also. So if you are ready to see a new relationship as a new person, rather than trying to, like I said, backfill a position or just replace someone. But if you were out with someone, for example, and they kept comparing you to the last partners or their previous life traumas, and you're like, wait, I don't behave like that, I'm someone new. You would want, you would want them to be interested and curious. I call it be a curious detective to discover who you are, not that they are going to do the same thing that the last person did to you, because you may never even have thought of those things. You bring a whole fresh partnership to a new relationship experience. And really, we want to know that we can, as individuals, attract someone who isn't going to get us stuck in the past, but is going to help partner with us in a healthy, relationship ready way to see us who we are. I call this your personal profile, and adore us exactly as we are. And more than that, and I think people forget, but also align as we move forward in life. So often I see people who are looking to find the partner they thought they were supposed to have in their early 20s. But they have changed. You have changed. And so have the ideals in the right kind of partnership for you. They've also changed. So knowing who the right person is for you generally helps you understand the picture of who is the right type of person to invite in. Here's how I describe this in a very simple metaphoric way. It's important to know, if you are looking for that needle, that one perfect person for you, if you're looking for a needle in a haystack, it's easier to find them when you have an idea of what your needle looks like. Then it's just a matter of clearing away the hay and hey, right? So
Yeah.
understanding how you are relationship ready, I think, is the answer to your inquiry about,
Yeah.
do I just go relationship hopping? Am I trying to backfill a position? Who are you in the world? Who do you represent? What roles do you fill? And who do you want to become in life? And how would a partner fit into that to actually amplify the experience to be better?
Hmm. And I think what you're really emphasizing and what I'm listening and I'm really loving what you're saying, Michelle, is that there's skills attached to this. It's sort of rather than just kind of like throw the dice and just go out with anybody. It sounds as though you've really learned to process that people can go through to be just as simply the idea of being relationship ready. It's such a great concept, I think. So thank you so much for that. Your wisdom is amazing, and I'm really enjoying listening to your answers. Um, so my next question is I think sometimes people put up barriers either in relationships or getting relationships because they put up a barrier because they want to avoid intimacy. They pretend they don't need a relationship or they're too independent, but deep down, it's probably due to a fear of getting too close, a fear of being intimate with people. Can you say a little bit more about how you perhaps deal with somebody with that, struggling with that problem?
Absolutely. Wendy, you bring up a really, really valuable topic. My business is called The Art of Relationshiping because I've turned relationship into a verb in that way. And there are skills to learn. And when you learn any skill, if it's a sport, if it's an art, whatever it is, you can hire a coach or a trainer to get better at something. And in this case, I help people become better in relationships, better at relationshiping. And what you're pointing out really speaks to somebody's life experience that may have put them in a situation where they feel they need to protect themselves. And that is an important thing to do. That's your job. Your brilliant brain is designed to keep you alive and keep you safe. And if your life experience, actually, I'm going to go a little deep for you. This is the way that I interpret our life experience. We come into this beautiful world, and the way that we collect data is through our senses: sight, taste, touch, sound, smell. And of course, there are more. There's proprioception, your acknowledgement of where you are in space, your sense of time, and it goes on. But let's just stick with these five to keep it nice and simple. So let's say I am realizing that, through touch, my fingertips are getting too hot, too hot, too hot. My brain's going to take this data in. It's going to translate that into some feeling of, too hot. Based on my life experience, my previous life experience, I'm going to realize I don't want my fingers burned. I'm going to pull my fingers off the stove. That creates the feeling of, oh, ouch, too hot. And based on what we want the outcome to be, there's a pause right there of that knowledge and acknowledgement of this, the data we're pulling in through our senses that becomes a feeling and an emotion. And what we want the outcome to be, right there, that's going to determine how we behave, how we act, and how we don't act. So in this case, simple example, oh, don't touch the stove, too hot. Pull hand away. Now, it gets more complicated when we are dealing with a variety and so many variables in life and in relationship with ourselves as well as others. But if we see that our needs are not met in a partnership, we may need to feel like we need to protect ourselves. And when, again, we come into this world, I'd say there are 7 primary needs that are required to stay in homeostasis or in balance, and I might dare say happiness. And those are our body regulation, so temperature, making sure we're not too hot, too cold, as an easy example, but our whole regulating body systems. We need nutrients. We need to, satisfy our thirst. So we need to stay hydrated. If we are overtired, we need rest. We need to stay out of pain. And then more advanced, love and stimulation. When any of those 7 things are out of balance, when we are first coming into this world, we have a caretaker who helps us get back into balance. Oh, you're too hot, you're too cold, you're too tired, you're too hungry. So we have someone externally helping us with those things. We do hope that at some point, as we mature, that we can take care of those things ourselves. But when this happens initially, we adapt a strategy. If we're out of balance, how does this caretaker come in to take care of us? And that strategy is designed to help us feel safe and move back into the safety zone where we then can have higher thoughts, build relationships with others, so on and so forth. For example, if you're in tremendous pain, it's almost impossible to learn high-level mathematical equations. Nobody would think that's unusual. But if you can overlay that onto the other things, if you're too tired, you just don't have the patience for someone else, for example. So we can keep it simple. So we adapt a strategy that makes us feel safe. We tend to rely on those strategies as we continue to grow, and that's how we learn where our boundaries are and are not. Safe boundaries will help us grow in a very positive way. When somebody oversteps our boundary, that's an indicator for us to go, I don't feel safe here anymore. And one thing that happens if, as we grew up, we learned that we need to protect ourselves by taking care of ourselves because no one else is going to do it, then that type of strategy may create an avoidant attachment style, for example, and put someone in a position where if they're feeling vulnerable, they then, based on their life experience, need to pull away to protect themselves. That happens all the time. So how do you move through that in a safe and secure way without being overly vulnerable? Here's the secret. 1, partner with someone who has a secure attachment style, but you don't really look those up as online particularly, but someone who allows you to pull away, make sure you feel safe, and then come back and grow together in that way until you know you're safe being vulnerable. So that's the simple answer to a very challenging question of knowing that you're safe enough before you dive into something headlong. Pull back a little because that's going to make sure that you're safe enough that you can put a toe in the water and move forward. Here's an example of how I do this. Ready? All relationships follow the same cycle. From chemistry to casual to committed. And we can go into the depth and description of all of those if you'd like. But what you're talking about here is actually up-leveling a relationship. So this is a little bit further into the partnership when you're like, this is great, but I need to protect myself. And this is how to elevate a partnership through communication and shared experiences. And especially somebody who has adapted a strategy where they don't feel safe being vulnerable, it's very valuable to repeat the connections, the communications, the shared experiences, so that someone has an understanding of what it's like. So that's from the chemistry when you're first meeting someone. So when you are in the casual phase of a partnership, that's being able to anticipate how someone's going to behave so that you know what the experience is going to be like when you are with that partner. So and then when you feel safe, that's the commitment point. It's like a handshake to move forward through chemistry again, because it's very exciting to know that you're safe and secure with someone and that you're going to enjoy those shared experiences. There in the casual phase of the partnership is where this is where we pause and go, are there any red flags that could be a deal breaker that's going to tell me I need to distance myself from this relationship? And when you come back and you clear those, I call those yellow flags when you're clearing them, and that's the green light go that you're safe, that's the handshake again. And this spirals this partnership through communication and shared experiences over time. That builds respect, a sense of safety and security in that relationship. And here it is, drum roll, please, what we're all looking for: trust. And when you know you can trust someone, which is earned over time through those moments of truth in that shared experience cycle, that's how you know you can trust your partner. And more importantly, please hear this: to trust someone else, you need to trust yourself. Self-trust is vital to know that you can trust someone else. And if you can trust yourself, then you know that you're safe as you're learning how much you can trust someone else or what you can't trust them with.
Yeah.
And that's how you feel safe, even if you're feeling vulnerable emotionally.
Yeah, yeah, and I love those sort of different stages and sort of they kind of like they go around like in a cycle, I think is what you're saying. You know, you there's a process there, and actually knowing that process exists can be very helpful to people to actually sort of understand where they are in the process as well. So thank you for that, Michelle.
Mhm.
And I suppose you have to be, you have to work on your own barriers and actually be more willing to open up and to make yourself vulnerable as well. And I'm just wondering if you can help somebody who's asked me the question as to, when do they start opening up and say, I love you and I want to be with you. Do they wait for the person to do you feel you get to the point where you feel safe enough to do that, or is there anything else you can sort of help around that question, Michelle?
The L word.
The L, yes, the L
Love.
word. The L word. Yes.
What a joy when my clients come to me and they say, we've done it. We've broken the barrier and we're saying, I love you. And the skies open up. And again, that is certainly up leveling a relationship. And again, returning back to from chemistry to casual to commitment, we start when we meet someone for the first time. Uh, this is I the first time I said this, I'm like, you don't really want. It's no. Here's how I'm going to say it. It's nobody's business what color your underwear is. If you meet someone and you're saying, this intimate thing that is really nobody's business when you're first connecting with someone, that's too much information too fast. And that's, I mean, that might put someone as a red flag of, why are you sharing so much when we aren't at that point in our partnership? So really, I love to use the metaphor of from chemistry to casual to commitment, and you can't jump in to a relationship midway, or I mean, as much as we'd like to, oh, wouldn't it be great to already have that partnership? Well, no, it actually wouldn't, because you'd be missing out on all that honeymoon stage where you maintain your own identity and individuality, and then together you create the universe of this partnership that's just so glorious. And there's shared experiences and inside jokes and vulnerabilities, knowing that you're safe and you can support one another as you create this intimate partnership. And it's just so glorious. You can't jump into this because there's shared experiences. So you just get to all enjoy, creating that in a. So how do you know in this partnership when it's time to share the LOVE word? And I'll tell you, it tends to slip out from somebody. because they're feeling strong one way or another. Um, oh, I've got a friend who's joined us. Speaking of love, um, this is Pixel, my polka dotted pup.
Beautiful.
So when is it right to say I love you? There is no wrong time, but the depth of that experience can be shared before the word is shared, because otherwise somebody might be a little nervous about that intimate knowledge being shared too quickly. You can say, I'm looking for a loving relationship. I love when we do this together. I love that. And then that would gradually turn into the I love you, as you continue to up level that partnership. More often than not, what I hear, Wendy, are wonderful little stories about one of them saying, finally going, I love you, and the other saying, I know. It's very, it's very Star Wars, but you were saying it in your sleep last night was one story I
Oh,
got.
so
I
sweet.
know. Or just the emotion breaks through rather than it's not a planned thing. Just it's so emphatic that you say, I love you because you mean it so much authentically from your heart. And these are the beautiful moments to share those kinds of incredible feelings. And it shouldn't have to be like that's the breakthrough barrier. It can be, I love how I feel when we are together. I love that we are bonding together to share this new experience and helping others. Um, so you can love all kinds of things if you feel reticent to say, I love you, or we're not quite there yet. We were talking about where we are from chemistry to casual to commitment. And if one person is still in chemistry mode and the other is pushing into casual commitment, then things are out of alignment. And so you were saying you can use this as a tool, because if somebody keeps going, nope, let's go back to the chemistry phase where it just feels like a honeymoon and la, 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 I don't want to really commit to anything, you might need to slow down so the other can catch up. But once you're both on the same page, then it becomes much easier to share those intimate things so that the partnership can grow together in a very true and meaningful way. The I love yous are so wonderful when they are authentic and when you're ready to not only say them, but hear them. And if one person says it a premature I love you, the other person can acknowledge and say how much they appreciate that and that they are on the same path and they're looking forward to that also, rather than saying something that you're not ready to say. But that will put you both back into the casual phase of the partnership in a meaningful way. I'm loving what we're doing, and I'm looking forward to authentically being able to say that too. Because you want it to be real. And knowing, when you first meet someone, you're on a need to know basis. And then as that partnership grows through communication, shared experience, developing respect, and that trust, it becomes so obvious that you love one another that you can say it when you both already know it. And it's absolutely beautiful all along the way. And then there's a sparkle in one another's eyes, and it becomes the easiest thing to roll off your lips. Oh, I love you. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, I love you. You make this life experience so much better. Oh, I loved that you brought me a coffee this morning. I love that we get to celebrate. I just came back from a wedding. I love that we get to celebrate our children finding the partnership that they deserve and will enjoy, and they'll create their own family. So you can love all kinds of things. And when you're ready to love your partner and have them love you back, life is better with good love in it. It does change everything for the better.
Mhm. I love your hope and inspiration, Michelle. I love the way you describe relationships being sort of so full of joy and just the enjoyment of the process of the saying I love things or I love that about you, and then the I love you comes sort of at the end. It's a wonderful description. So thank you so much for that, Michelle. And my next question is, what happens? I think you've partly answered this, but I think it's not. Maybe it's a slightly different question. Is what happens if somebody's really sort of suffers jealousy, who kind of brings
Mhm.
that into relationship and is really struggling with jealousy, which can obviously affect the relationship. Anything about that particular subject there?
Jealousy is big and it's real, and there are stages of relationships. There's first when you meet someone, and there's capacity in what someone can experience in a relationship based on what they know about how they partner with people. And you can grow how you connect and relationship with people. We tend to first just meet someone superficially, and that relationship could be as quick as oh, hello, goodbye, or is this seat taken, or, the cashier at the grocery store, whatever it is. It's a very short-term partnership. And there's an exchange that happens. It could be, we call it parallel play, where you do your thing, I do my thing, and together we're a little bit better because we're kind of adjacent. Then there's an exchange, and you can, as we become more capable in connecting with other people in partnerships, it may be, here, come sit next to me because it's, better to have a partner with you. And I'll use, the exchange of throwing a ball back and forth. And that's amazing when you can toss the ball or, to someone and they go, yeah, thanks. And then they take off. Oh, okay. Or if you toss the ball and they bring it back to you and there's this agreed upon interaction that keeps happening. And it's like, oh, this is a better way to live because we're actually sharing this relationship. But then if that person takes the ball and goes play with someone else, it's like, wait, what happened here? I thought we had something going on. And now you took what we learned and you're doing that with someone else. Hmm. So that would be a relationship that, has grown to maybe it's what it's going to be. And they need to go learn whatever they're going to learn in a new relationship. But if it's that, our two little players are playing ball together, and then they can say, this person is playing ball with someone else now, but they're coming back to me. And I am big enough to say you can have a relationship with more than one person, and that doesn't affect the partnership that we have created together. So in a healthy partnership, we're going to play ball, so to speak, but you maintain your own identity and individuality. Together, you create the universe of the partnership where you're supporting one another's, you're fulfilling your needs, you feel safe and secure in this partnership. Safe and secure enough that when your partner says, oh, I made a friend at work today and we went out to lunch, your universe of a relationship is not threatened in any way because it's solid and secure. And you know what your partnership represents. You know that it's complete and full, and there are boundaries that your partner will not cross because they're going to behave in a way that they would behave with you even when you're not there. So the two of you decide your relationship because it's yours to decide. And here's what it is. Those types of things do need to be discussed. We are not mind readers. And it is important to set the value of what this relationship means to you with your partner so that you don't feel betrayed when they go outside of that. And if it's something as simple, oh, have I had lunch with someone today? You can say that does not impinge in any way on our partnership. Or you can say, oh, how did it go? What did you talk about? Hey, when you all go out, can I join you? Whatever it is. But it is a real thing, because if somebody's taking the ball and playing somewhere else with someone else, you go, hey. But knowing that you're safe and secure in your partnership, and your partner will behave the way that you expect them to behave, even in other relationships, that's what we're looking for. Because you want to be able to go out in the world and have experiences that don't alter the solid framework of your partnership, that is an intimate, loving relationship that you have. So you can go and do and be who you want to be, and know that that does not tarnish your partnership.
And Michelle, I think what you're describing a lot is somebody with great experience and expertise in relationships. I think if you work more on having a great relationship, and that's a really good, healthy relationship, those kind of, feeling threatened or jealous probably happens a lot less, because you've got such a good, and you don't want to give it up. You've got such a great relationship. You don't want to give it up. So that's what I think you're saying as well, but by working on the relationship and getting that. I love the way you do this as well. I think that's such a lovely symbol that you're showing. And I think I've
Mhm.
just got one more last question, if that's okay. And there's quite a lot
Yeah.
of talk, even nowadays, it's become quite popular, about attachment styles. And I know we have anxious avoidant, anxious, and secure attachment styles. And can you change your attachments? Does it, if you have a anxious attachment style, does it really kind of make it very hard to get relationships, or do you try to change your attachment style in order to have a relationship, or can you manage if you have an anxious attachment style being in a relationship? Sorry, that's
Mhm.
a very long question. How
No,
does
it's a
attachment
very
styles?
good question, and it's very, very relevant. What you were alluding to really goes forward to relationshiping as a verb, and learning how to be in relationship with yourself, your inner voice, your thoughts, your body, your world, your home, your family, parent-child relationship where you're the parent, parent-child relationship where you're the child, your children, your relationship with your career, your community, your colleagues, your bosses, your clients, all of it. We're in relationship with the world around us. When you can understand and learn the skills, which I teach the art of relationshiping, when you learn the skills of how to be in relationship with yourself and the world around you, then your trust in yourself increases tremendously, and you will attract higher quality people, by the way. When you understand who you are, you can then adjust who you're in relationship. And if there's someone on what I call your relationship spiral who's not serving you anymore, and I use the example of your best friend from third grade was amazing, and that relationship was incredible. And if you connected with them, you'd have a wonderful time, reminiscing about the times that you shared together. But your best friend in third grade has grown and changed, and so have you. And it may be that you grew in a very similar pattern. More likely than not, you've grown in different ways. So you can acknowledge that rooted history that you share in your background and move forward. So I would say you might put them further out on your relationship spiral. Not that there's anything wrong with that relationship, but that it's not in your inner circle at this point in time in your life, helping you to grow forward. Then, so that's how, adjusting people in that way. Now, you talk about attachment theory. And can we change and become more? What we're looking for is a more secure attachment style. Absolutely, yes. It's very difficult to do on your own, but when you can be in relationship, when you want to be in a healthy relationship, you need someone else to be in the relationship with you. So if you are um, an anxious attacher, and my anxious attachers, again, they tend to be givers, and they will do anything because the strategy they adopted when they were little, and we talked about that a little bit earlier, was such that if they could be more, do more, recognize more, show more, and make other people feel valued, then they get their needs met. So that's how that happens. The challenge with that is we keep relying on that and expecting other people to respond in a way that we need them to. And that creates anxiety because everyone in the world doesn't respond the way that we expect them to. My clients have said things like, my anxiety has reduced 80%. Oh, I loved hearing that. That's a pretty significant difference in the way that you wake up in the morning and approach life. If you were living in such anxiety and now you're not, whoo. So you can adjust your attachment style by being with someone in a partnership who has a secure attachment style, or by working with someone who like me or similar, who understands attachment theory and can help make you feel more secure in the relationships that you're connecting with. I have a client who, he's fantastic. He was going out with women and he would take them to a beautiful restaurant and they would have lovely conversations. And these women would take pictures of their food and themselves and they would post them on social media. And he's saying, this is a great relationship. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I'm like, it seems to me that you're being left out of this relationship somewhere, but your date is posting on social media to get that external recognition and approval that she's having a wonderful time. Look at her. Because where was he in the picture of that shared? It wasn't a shared experience. She was having the experience and wanted external approval. This would be more of an avoidant attachment style where she's creating distance between her emotional safety because she couldn't be that vulnerable. And he's saying, oh, no, she's great, great, great. And then she would break up with him and say, oh, I'm just not ready to be in a relationship yet. And he would be then heartbroken. So this happened a couple of times. And finally I was like, can I help you find the right person, please? Just trust me on this. And so he did. And he was like, she's wonderful. Oh, my God, she's amazing. But I don't know. And this was the cue because now I've heard this from different clients. I don't know. And I'm like, what don't you know? She's showing up for you. You're showing up for her. And he says, well, I don't have to chase her. Oh, I see. And I said, oh, yes, you will. It's just not at the time that you thought the chase was so vital. So they had this wonderful relationship and they were planning on going to lunch. He was going to introduce her to his sister and she called and said, I'm breaking up with you. And he called me in tears. What is happening? And I said, well, this is the time where you were supposed to be chasing her. And I said, what would you like to have happen? And he said, this is it. This is the person I want to be with her. And she's broken up with me, so all is lost. And I said, all is not lost. If you truly want to be with her, I will show you exactly, you have to follow exactly what I say to do and what I suggest not to do. Don't do what I say don't do. Pull that energy. If you just need to get it out, call me. And just so I can be a safe place for you. So he did. I gave him the 3 easy steps. Here they are. And he followed those steps. And I said, here's about how long it's going to take. And you're going to need to approach her and chase her in a very, very cautious way. And in that time frame, she turned around and called him back. And she said, you're a really wonderful guy. I had some things I needed to figure out, which is exactly what I said was happening. And I know you're such a great guy. You're probably in a relationship with someone amazing. But if you're not, do you think you might take me back? And he was like, yes, yes, yes. And with that, they could then set appropriate boundaries and what was working for them and open the lines of communication even further. So, those are the examples when an anxious attacher connects with an avoidant attacher. It is fireworks because the avoidant is getting all of that approval and acknowledgement and recognition that they crave. And then the fireworks fizzle because when the avoidant feels vulnerable, they're going to create distance. And my beautiful little giver is going to be like, wait, I just want to know you're there. I just want to acknowledge that we're still good and just, reach out and hold my hand. And the avoidant will have pulled away so much so that they then will be like, don't overwhelm me over there. But no, I just need to know that, I'm enough for you and that we're solid. Well, no, we're not. You're not enough for me. And then they take off. So those fireworks fizzle. Now, here's the frustrating part, the dating pool. The majority of the dating pool is filled with those avoidant attachers because they are proving they are lovable. So they distance themselves, they break off the relationship, and they dive back into the date pool going, can you prove to me that I'm lovable? Can you prove to me I'm lovable? Can you prove to me I'm lovable? When my just giver is going, all I want to do is prove that you are lovable. But that becomes overwhelming, or they don't give back to the anxious attacher. So if you can meet in the middle, partner with a secure attachment style, or work with someone, a professional, who knows how to help you feel secure enough in your life that you trust yourself and you understand your self-worth, your self-value, your self-confidence. That's how, when those things are elevated, then we don't have to have someone externally approve or validate us, and we don't need someone else to be enough for us. And then, of course, Wendy, there's the disorganized, which is anxious avoidant attachment, and that person tends to need someone who is a professional who can help them balance that, because they themselves are having that anxious avoidant struggle constantly internally. And when you can figure that out and calm that down, then you feel safe enough to be in relationship with yourself as well as with someone else.
Michelle, what amazing, amazing answers. They're so good and so deep and everything. I just want to bring Ian into the podcast actually, and just wanted to know, Ian, how do you have any questions for Michelle or any comments that you'd like to make?
I think I could spend I think I could spend the rest of the day talking to Michelle. She's been an absolute delight to have on the podcast, and I know that Michelle will be joining us again shortly for another podcast as well. So I will get lots of opportunity to ask questions there. I think really just to thank you so much for your insights, your inspiration. I love the simplicity of the language. You take concepts which people can spend their life struggling with, and you make it so easy and accessible to people. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think what's really important now is some of the listeners, many listeners, not even some, just change the language, will want to actually know more about how they can order your book, how they can contact you. So could you just tell the audience a little bit more about your details if they want to know more about you?
I would love for your listeners to connect with me. All you need to do is go to theartofrelationshipping.com. And at theartofrelationshipping.com, you can click Speak with Michelle. And actually, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. So you can put time on my schedule. And if really all you're looking for is the resources, go to the resources page at theartofrelationshipping.com, and you will have access to all my books and all kinds of free resources that will provide insight so that you can live your life with love in it.
That sounds really, really great. And those details will actually be on the notes of the podcast as well. So just a great opportunity, Michelle. Thank you for being such a wonderful, fantastic guest. I've enjoyed it so much. I know Ian did enjoy it very, very much. And thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. Please carry on listening and please get in contact with Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.